So Beverly, one of the areas you mentioned in the paper is something you called an untested factor. So making reference to, the factors that can be influenced. One of these you mentioned as being an untested factor, which is signaling employability outcomes to potential learners. Would you mind just expanding on that for a little bit?
Yes, I'm very happy to do that. Now, in my research, looking at websites for basically advertising courses to students on university websites in Australia, but in other countries as well, is that you rarely read, when you are reading the main ideas of the degree, why should I do this? What does it cost me? What are the fees? And, what are the likely career outcomes? There's often very little hard evidence there around, well, this is actually the percentage of our graduates who found or created meaningful paid work, and this is how long it took them to do it. And I think what we're dealing with, particularly in Western countries, is a bit of disappointment, to be honest, Margo, that, we've had, for example, in Australia, a demand-driven system. We've encouraged and incentivized younger people, particularly, to go to university, get a degree. I had a really compelling life experience about 3 years ago now that really stopped me and made me think. And that was on one Friday evening in Melbourne, where I am. I was invited to an event with 100 young people who were all graduates, mostly from Victorian universities, but also some from TAFE, but the vast majority from universities, including the one that I worked at the time. And these 100 young people were spending their weekend preparing a report for government to say, listen up, this is not great. In essence, the message was, I was a barista. I took on the idea of getting a degree because it was going to be great. And I finished the degree, and guess what? I now have a degree and a debt, and I'm a barista. So I felt, what have we been doing? I absolutely believe in widening participation. I absolutely believe everyone has a right to a good education. But these days, particularly, somewhere in the mind of the consumer, the person being educated, I believe most people, most of the time, are looking for some kind of career advantage from a credential. And I think we as educators have to be much more explicit about how realistic that is, whether there are jobs in the first place, because after widening participation in the UK particularly and in Australia, we have a lot more graduates competing for jobs at the very time when some graduate jobs are disappearing. So you have like an intersecting problem. So look, that's a very long answer to the question, but that's a really important part. And mainly, I don't want people to undertake an education, be really disappointed, and then stop being educated. I want people to keep being educated. So for me, it's very much part of the moral value proposition of what we're doing as educators to deliver the benefits that we promise explicitly or implicitly.